Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'm going to be joined by my coworker, Dane Galloway. We're going to talk about some best ball scout drafts. We're going to talk about one that took place last night, Tuesday night, took place at 8 p.m. Eastern time on our site. You can get in those drafts. They're going off all the time. I'll show you what they look like right here if you want to join. rtsports.com/best ball then hyphen championship. That's how you can get to it directly, or you can click on the Money League link at the top of our page as well. But this is a great championship. It's a best ball scout championship, so it's a little different. All drafts are done before the NFL draft. So all these drafts are done before the NFL draft. You do not know where these players who are getting drafted, what teams are going to be on. You have to draft them blindly, use your GM skills to figure out what players are going to land in the best spots and do the best for your fantasy teams. So there's no moves, no roster management. All you do is draft. It's best ball, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, 12 bench players, $20 to enter, chance to win $5,000. So it's best ball championship, the scout tournament. We're really excited about this. First year we've ever done this. I highly encourage you to get involved. rtsports.com and then click on the Money Leagues link at the top of our page, or you can just click directly to this best ball championship link here. I'll show you how you do it right here as well. So that's easy way to get involved. You can join this best ball championship. A lot of fun. And we're going to talk about it here with Dane, my man Dane. We're going to get you involved. And I'm going to bring him up now. This is Dane Galloway of RealTime Fantasy Sports. Dane, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Love these scout drafts. Love the best ball format. Ready to talk what we could possibly see in 2022. I know there's all these moving pieces, all the drama. Helps to be plugged in, do your homework. But yeah, ready to take a look at these drafts.
Yeah, let's take a look at the one that took place last night. It was called, I don't have the name of it up here. I don't have the league number up here, but regardless, took place last night on our site. This is how it went down. It's a 10-team league. And like I mentioned, all the parameters of it, you can look here, see how it went down. Jonathan Taylor, first overall, not a big surprise. Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams. That was the first round. I'm always interested to see how that shakes out, especially with Christian McCaffrey. Any thoughts on this first round, Dane?
So the biggest thing I've noticed is there is a handful of guys that can go second. Obviously, we have Jonathan Taylor first, but I've seen a lot of Cooper Kupp going second, and then anybody from Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, even McCaffrey and Najee Harris, they can slide up there to second. So still a lot in the air right now for very early in the draft. Normally, earlier in the draft is when you see your more cemented draft spots for guys, but there's been a lot of different changes this year, and I think they're all fair picks at second overall.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp second overall, really intriguing to me. Obviously, a huge difference maker. I'm interested to run the numbers to see how many teams won championships on our site that had Cooper Kupp. So I have no problem with him going second overall. I probably wouldn't do it personally just because I feel like the running back position is still a little top heavy. I know Kupp's a difference maker. I worry a little bit about maybe Robert Woods returning and Odell Beckham for a full season. Will he get that same target share? I think he has some question marks, but a lot of people have question marks as well. Christian McCaffrey is the other guy. I was interested to see him go in the first round. I didn't know if he would. Javonte Williams went in the first round as well. Guy clearly moving up draft boards. Derrick Henry, too, coming off a major foot injury, has screws in his foot. Is he going to be the same back going forward? What are your thoughts on Henry a little bit, Dane? Would you feel comfortable taking him that early in drafts, or is it a guy you might stay away from unless he falls to you a little later?
I would definitely be comfortable taking him there. I'd be fine taking him up to second. Maybe not take him second every time. If you're doing a lot of volume in this contest, it's always all right to mix things up. But watching the Titans and Bengals playoff game a couple weeks ago, I don't think we saw Henry at 100%. There was a run where he was stopped on, it was either 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. He just did not look completely like himself. I don't think he'll have any issues bouncing back next year. He has all offseason to recover. A little bit of a quarterback question for next season, potentially. There was a news about Aaron Rodgers buying land in Nashville, so that could be a big one. Tannehill has been all right as the Titans quarterback. Obviously, they were good enough to get the 1 seed this year, but any type of quarterback change up like that would definitely help Derrick Henry's case. But yeah, I think he's just fine right there in the first half of the first round.
So another question for me this year is Travis Kelce. He had a good finish to his season, but he was a little hobbled late in the year, kind of tailed off his production a little bit, getting older. So he goes in the early second round, about the 5th pick in the second round. That's kind of where he went last year. Do you think that that's about right for him, or are you waning on him a little bit? Do you want to go that early on him? That's one guy I have a few questions about for the coming year.
Yeah, so I think Kelce in the second is fine. He was a guy that I would have been fine taken at the end of the first last year, but as he gets another year older into his 30s, tight ends have more of a late age apex per se. They play longer into their careers and take longer to develop as well. So most of the time we don't see rookie tight ends coming out of nowhere. But what I thought was interesting is Tyreek Hill right there next to him, sliding all the way back to the second round. So you have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Debo, and Devontae Adams all going before Tyreek Hill, who was at times the consensus wide receiver 1 last year. So I don't see the downside there as much as I see with Kelce.
Yeah, I agree with that. A little surprised to see Chase go 3rd overall, Samuel 4th overall. I guess the volume for
Okay.
Samuel.
Yeah, I missed Cooper Kupp. Sorry about that. But yeah.
No, that's okay. Samuel definitely is intriguing just because of the volume. He'll get so many touches. Chase, I don't know. That's awful early for him. I know you're a Cincinnati guy. I'm not sure I can take him before Devontae Adams. I know he's not in a landing spot just yet. We don't know where he's going to end up. So it's obviously going to play a big role. But Tyreek Hill goes after Chase as well. A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs. I mean, where are you slotting Chase at this point?
I would say probably my 4th wide receiver behind Kupp, Hill, then Jefferson, then Chase. So T. Higgins is one of the main factors there. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 1 in himself. They've got 2 of them there in Cincinnati. Higgins started the year a little banged up. He had a shoulder injury to start the year, and as the big body guy, he's their jump ball, downfield threat. And when he was dealing with that shoulder injury, I read an article about it. He was just more hesitant about going up there and grabbing those balls, hitting the ground hard. He ended up, second half of the season, he had a fantastic streak where he was putting up 15, 20 points, 20 plus every game. And I think that's more the T. Higgins we'll see next year. Obviously, influx of talent there at the skill positions in Cincinnati. So I think that could be a potential hamper to Jamar Chase's ceiling. But we've seen it in the playoffs too, where his ceiling is Joe Burrow can just look to him every play. So it's fine, I think, at the end of the first round, but maybe I'd hold off till the early second.
So always different strategies with these best ball drafts or any draft. We had 2 teams go 3 receivers with their first 3 picks. The second drafted team took Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, obviously a great trio of receivers. And then the aforementioned Jamar Chase went to the 9th drafted team, I should say, with max value. He took Jamar Chase, Debo Samuel, Jalen Waddle. I'm always interested to see how the running backs pan out when they do that. So the second drafted team took Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard as his running backs, J.K. Dobbins, James Conner, Cordarrelle Patterson for max value. Do you think these teams are going to get away with it with those drafts that they put together there, Dane?
So I like the 0 RB start per se. What I like a lot about doing it right now is there's still a lot up in the air for these running backs and their roles next year. So not the guys in the first round. I mean, maybe Najee Harris could have the biggest little bit of a tangent here, but there's a definite upside to Najee Harris if he gets a better quarterback now that Roethlisberger's retired. But I like waiting a bit on these running backs myself. Someone like I look at the 20th round and someone ended their draft with Jerick McKinnon. If you've seen how the Chiefs used him in the playoffs, he was their starting running back. They used first round draft capital on Clyde Edwards-Helaire a couple years ago, but seeing a guy like Jerick McKinnon take over when the team needs him the most, I like waiting a bit more towards these mid-range guys right now, just for the potential of increased role next year, depending on who goes where, who gets hurt. I think grabbing these studs at wide receiver that are going to produce regardless and waiting a bit for a running back that could have some more upside. Like if we look at round 10, we've got our 3 rookies going off the board with Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, and Isaiah Spiller. So 3 guys that could take over starting in a backfield, could be on a strong offense and get some great upside there.
Yeah, and on the flip side, we have 3 running backs. Only one team took 3 running backs for their first 3 picks. That was the Eric Scout team. He took Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Alvin Kamara. Kamara was definitely one I was intrigued by because the news broke before this draft took place. So they knew that Kamara got in trouble over the weekend in Las Vegas. He went in the 3rd round. Obviously a huge boomer bust pick. I don't think I would take him at all personally. What would you do with Kamara at this point, Dane?
I don't know about the 3rd round. Long weekend in Vegas for Kamara. But that's another offense where there's a lot of moving pieces. Jameis Winston's set to hit the free agent market. Don't know if they're going to bring him back. New head coach as well. Sean Payton retiring. So there's just so much up in the air with the Saints offense and a potential suspension for Kamara next season. I may wait until you get more of a value because there's still upside there. If he ends up playing, gets slap on the wrist, more of a 2-3 game suspension, and they get a good quarterback, then he could be an absolute steal, but a lot of risk on that one.
So let's look at quarterbacks now. First quarterback off the board is Josh Allen, who led all QBs in scoring last year. Went in the 3rd round, then Mahomes and Herbert. So those were all 3rd round picks, and then we waited till the 5th round to the next one with Joe Burrow, and then it went Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford. Let me see. Am I going the right way there? Yeah. No, I'm going the wrong way. Stafford, Jackson, Prescott, Murray, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers. So that's how it kind of played out. So we had 3 going the 3rd round. I think that's about right. It's really a position that is super deep these days. Oh, you see Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray going in the 7th round, even Dak Prescott. I think that's a good value for all those guys. For me personally, I would rather go that route and get Prescott, Murray, and Hurts in the 7th round than go early for Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert. Are they really going to make that big of a difference? What do you think about that QB position?
I like the rushing upside from guys like Josh Allen. Even Justin Herbert has a bit of his rushing upside for those extra fantasy points. So I can see the case there. It's best ball format. So your guys going from round 10 to 12, they don't have the 40-point weekly upside that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert have. At the same time, you're giving up those round 5 through or even round 3 for those elite quarterbacks, but still those receivers there where it starts to thin out pretty quick at receiver this year, I'd say. So I'm fine waiting a bit towards round 8 maybe to start with some of those guys like Russell Wilson. Trey Lance looks like he's getting the keys handed over to him with Garoppolo all but confirming that he's going elsewhere next year. So I think grabbing 3, maybe even 4, I think I saw a 4 quarterback team in here, but I think waiting a bit for these quarterbacks is a fine strategy to stack up at those wide receiver spots and tight end before they run out.
Well, the big thing with this draft is obviously you don't know where the rookies are going to be. And the first rookie off the board was Kenneth Walker in the 10th round. You mentioned it earlier. There was actually 3 rookie running backs taken in that round with Hall and Spiller as well. And then the first receiver off the board was Treylon Burks in the 11th round. Then we had another receiver in the 12th round with Garrett Wilson. It's really tough to gauge these guys. You don't know where they're going to be. I think it's safer personally to go the running back route if you want to take a rookie. Obviously, the receivers have high upside as well, but they have to land in the right situation to produce. So I think they carry more risk. So I'm good with how it fell here, where they're waiting a little bit longer to take a chance on these guys. Any thoughts on these rookies and how they're going in these drafts right now, Dane?
Yeah, so I think there's a clear top three at the running backs with Walker, Hall, and Spiller. Those are all three guys that could take over a backfield. But I like taking dart throws on some of these receivers late. Treylon Burks is the closest thing we have in this class to a Jamar Chase. Not the same type of player at all or anything, but just the high upside rookie. He's big body athlete out of Arkansas. He could be a red zone threat for any team in the league. And so you talked about the right landing spot. Obviously, you would like a guy like that to end up in a high power offense like the Bengals, but then you have an example from last year is round 5 now. Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he was a rookie last year, but ended up going to the lowly Detroit Lions, where second half of the year he ended up taking over that wide receiver group and ended up stringing together multiple wide receiver one performances and shot all the way up the draft board this year, as we see. So I think there's probably a dozen guys at the wide receiver spot towards the end of the draft that I'd be fine waiting on and taking that dart throw if you still are looking for some upside at the wide receiver position.
Let's talk about these teams now, Dane. Any teams stand out to you that you think they did a really good job, might be at the top of the leaderboard right now? Anybody at all that you really like, or maybe you want to throw a couple out there? Go ahead, give me some of your favorites here.
I like hard not to like a team starting with Jonathan Taylor. Mark Andrews, if we see the upside we saw from him last year, I think just locking down that tight end spot could be great. You've got T. Higgins, Amon-Ra, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, a lot of good, young, high upside wide receivers. And they took a very bold strategy with going Mark Andrews in round 3. Didn't take another tight end until round 20, David Njoku. Njoku is a pending free agent. We saw the yards after catch ability from him last year. He had a couple huge games for the Browns. And if he ends up in the right spot, Njoku, I think, could be tight end. There's not a lot of not too many guys to beat ahead of him. So I think he could have 2 really high upside tight ends there if Njoku lands in the right spot. So I really do like how this first team was put together. Maybe don't need all these running backs from round 14 to 19 when you're starting with Taylor Swift and Damian Harris, but still hard to argue there. Got his 3 mid-round quarterbacks. I like how they look.
I thought you were mentioning Taylor Swift as a running back. It threw me
Jonathan
off.
Taylor Swift, yeah.
I agree, though. I like that team, too. That's one that stood out to me. I like the Robert Smash team, too, drafted out of the 3-hole. Austin Eckler, I love his volume. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. A.J. Brown, I think he has some question marks as a number 1 receiver, but when he's healthy, he's phenomenal. And then I don't like going super early on a QB, but he got the number 1 in Josh Allen. Then he has George Kittle. I think Godwin's good volume in round 5. I know he's coming off the torn ACL, but he should be ready for the start of the year. Then Hunter Renfrow, not getting any respect, falls all the way to round 8 for this team. A.J. Dillon, Michael Carter, a couple guys with question marks, but I think Carter's another bell cow back. I know he lacks a little size, worries me a little bit that way, but he might not have any competition for touches, so I think he'll get a ton of work. So I like that pick for him. Chase Edmonds, too. He could be the guy with James Conner, free agent. No sure thing. He's coming back. Chase Edmonds also could go elsewhere, but I think it makes sense for Arizona to bring him back. He's the younger of the 2 options. Good buy low candidates, too, for this team with Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, Ayuk, Gallup, too, another guy that could land someplace else. C.J. Uzomah, and then Dan Arnold, who had a good season as well before he got hurt, with Jacksonville putting up good numbers. So I really like how this team stacked their lineup. I think they're really good starting lineup for Robert Smash. So that's my favorite. right now with this group. So that's this draft that took place last night. It was fun to analyze that. I want to look at the overall ADP right now of how we've done several drafts on our site. And I want to show everybody how they're shaking out at this point. I'm going to bring that up for you. So it's kind of similar to how this draft played out. As you can see, Jonathan Taylor has been going 1, then Cooper Kupp, Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris. Devontae Adams is higher in the ADP than what happened in that draft that we just analyzed. Justin Jefferson, Alvin Kamara is going to be falling down a little bit as well. Jamar Chase, as we talked about, 212. Anything stand out to you at all with early ADP? Anything that intrigues you with what we're seeing so far in these drafts, Dane?
So I love that we have the trend for the ADP. So you can sort by certain time frames to see how many spots has, let's say, Jamar Chase moved in the past week, in the past 2 weeks, 4 weeks. All throughout the playoffs, he's continued to climb, and now we see him at the end of the first round. So perhaps that ADP of 12 gets even higher right now than it is right now. If we scroll down a bit, one guy that has dropped since the start of these drafts was Cam Akers. We saw the early handful of drafts, he was going at the end of the first round, if not early second round. And he fumbled a couple times in their game against Tampa Bay and has slid down the boards a bit. So I think if you're letting that one performance affect your outlook on Cam Akers for next year, everybody liked him at the end of the first round at the start of these drafts. So I think there's still potentially some upside there if we see the same Rams Super Bowl caliber team that we saw this year. I think getting a Super Bowl running back at the end of the second could be a great pick there. Otherwise, Deebo Samuel at the Pro Bowl, he called himself a wide back, a wide receiver that plays running back. Just love seeing him with the ball in his hands. Just so hard to stop, I think, right there in the middle of the second round. He did all that with Jimmy Garoppolo this year. If Trey Lance is who we thought he was, based on where the 49ers drafted him, if he takes that next step in the 2022 season, I think Deebo could just smash. He could have that first-round value.
Yeah.
What else are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm looking at the receiver spot a little bit. I was intrigued to see where Amon-Ra St. Brown went. I think he's going to be a polarizing figure next year. He's really going high, though. I mean, he's going ahead of Terry McLaurin after his disappointing season. Tyler Lockett, too. I mean, St. Brown had a great finish, but I don't know if I'm completely sold on him being a, low-end wide receiver number one. I think he carries some risk playing in that offense. That's one guy I'm intrigued by. Michael Thomas, too, still getting drafted fairly high. I like DJ Moore. I think he's undervalued. I think if they can ever figure out that receiver position, I love him, going 58th overall. I'd take him all day at that spot. His numbers are just super consistent, even with the mess of the situations that he's had to deal with so far in his career in Carolina. So there's a couple guys at the receiver spot. We see tight end. I kind of sorted by position here. You can do that as well. Kyle Pitts is a guy that's moving up draft boards. I'm kind of surprised he's not higher. He's 5th overall tight end right now after Kelce, Andrews, Waller, and Kittle. I thought Pitts might be moving higher after his good season. I know the lack of touchdowns is disappointing, but man, his ceiling is huge. Usually rookie tight ends don't do very well. He definitely had a big season. I think Dallas Goedert's good value. Also, I expect him to have a big season. I like him right now, so intriguing to see where he's going. And like you said with Cam Akers, I think a lot of people are down on him because of that one performance, but he came back from a serious injury. I think he's good value. I would take him early second, even late first round maybe, just because of the volume factor. You don't know if Sony Michel's going to be around. Darrell Henderson also has been up and down with his chances. So Akers could be the guy to get a lot of carries in that offense. So definitely intriguing. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, definitely falling down draft boards. He was a guy that a lot of people took in the second round last year. He's going 54th overall right now, or actually probably 55th if you round up, and he's moving down a little bit at this time while Devin Singletary's moving up. He's been moving up, although he's moved down recently, but he's moved up with his good performance at the end of last season. So that's that's kind of the ADP right now. You can check all the ADPs out. There's a link on our pages. You can see the ADPs. Let me show you how you can get to that. I'll go to the home page here. And then if you just click on, oh, this is actually the draft guide homepage. Let me go to the regular homepage for you so you can see what that looks like. Sorry, freezing up here so I can show you how you can easily get to it. So if you look at football here, and then it says ADP and AAV, which is auction value. So you can just click on that there, and you can pull up the average draft position stuff. And like Dane said, you can sort it by days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 week, 4 weeks, and then you can sort it by format as well. So I was looking at the best ball format because that's really the main thing going on our site right now. So that's the ADP. Dane, anything else you want to mention about that before I remove that page?
Not yet on the ADP list is rookie wide receiver Justin Ross. That's Justin with a Y out of Clemson. Look out for him this season. If he starts getting some hype at the combine, I think he's worth a flyer there in the 20th round. He's a big body wide receiver out of Clemson. Reminds me of another big body wideout out of Clemson named T. Higgins. So watch out for Justin Ross. There's my late round flag there. Plant my flag.
I like it. I'm going to do one too because he apparently had a great Senior Bowl. The Missouri running back Tyler Beatty, he had a great camp, great showing in that Senior Bowl practice, and apparently he's really moving up draft boards as well. And he's not getting drafted either right now on our site. A little surprised to see Beatty not getting any love. He's a guy. He's another back, that good one cut runner, but he catches the ball really well too. And I think he's going to start moving up draft boards, like you said. Once they start getting more workouts and more word gets out here, I think you're going to see more guys enter this list. So, Dane, that's a look at these best ball scout drafts going on. We looked at one last night. Let's do it again sometime soon. It's a lot of fun to look at these drafts, and I think our users really enjoy it too, getting a breakdown of what we think about their teams as well. So we're going to have to do this again sometime soon.
For sure.
Appreciate it. Thanks for joining me, Dane. And like I said, we'll do it again sometime really soon.
Sounds good, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
All right. That was a look at the best ball scout championship draft that took place last night on our site Tuesday night. They're going off every night here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. You can sign up for one of these best ball scout championships. Again, these take place before the NFL draft. You have to draft your team without knowing where any of these rookies are going to be on their roster. So you're going in blind. A lot of fun. It's a lot of strategy as well. So get in one today. Go to rtsports.com. and then click on the Money League link or the Best Ball Championship link, and you can sign up for one of those today. Also doing a lot of baseball leagues right now. I know the season's in a little bit of flux, but definitely get in a baseball league as well. Tons of drafts going on, different price points, championships, everything, you name it. Go to rtsports.com, sign up for one of these leagues today. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.